long before the great flood of Prophet Noah. When the earth was still young, mankind lived in a single, vast land. This is the story of a man who changed human history forever. His name was Idris. He was born in the ancient lands of Babylon. Idris was the son of Urid. Urid was the son of Malayil, and he was the great-grandson of Prophet Sheath, making him a direct descendant of Adam, the first man. In those early days, the world was divided into two regions. The children of Adam lived high up in the mountains, following the pure teachings of their forefather. But in the plains and valleys below lived the children of Kabil, also known as Cain. The descendants of Kabil had completely forgotten God. They invented musical instruments to distract their minds. They indulged in forbidden desires and terrible sins. And for the very first time in human history, they began to worship fire and carved stones. Corruption was spreading like a dark sickness across the earth. Up in the mountains, young Idris watched this darkness grow. But he was entirely different from the men of his time. He was not interested in idle talk or meaningless games. His original name was Enoch, also known as Enoch in historical traditions. But God gave him the glorious title of Idris. This name comes from the Arabic word dars, which means to study, to read, and to teach continuously. And he truly lived up to this beautiful name. He spent his days and nights reading the ancient scrolls, the holy scrolls that were previously given to Prophet Sheath. He studied the intricate movements of the sun, the moon, and the stars. He pondered deeply over the creation of the universe. Idris was a man of deep silence and profound wisdom. When he walked, he kept his gaze lowered to the ground, lost in deep thought. But his heart and his soul were always connected to the highest heavens. As the sins of the people in the valleys multiplied, the believers in the mountains grew weak and confused. Some even started to wander down into the plains, falling into the clever traps of Kabil's descendants. The pure religion of Adam was on the edge of fading away completely. Mankind was in desperate need of a strong, fearless leader, a guide who could stand against this rising tide of ignorance. It was in this dark and crucial moment in human history that God chose the quiet scholar of the mountains. Allah blessed Idris with prophethood, making him the first prophet raised after Adam and Sheath. The heavy burden of saving humanity now rested firmly on his shoulders. When Prophet Idris received the divine message, he did not just call people back to God with words. He elevated human life to a completely new level. He became the founding father of early civilization. Before his time, mankind lived a very primitive life. People covered themselves with the raw, heavy skins of animals. They used rough leaves to protect their bodies from the bitter cold. But Allah granted Prophet Idris a remarkable new skill. He was the very first human being to weave cloth. He was the first man to sew garments with a needle. And he turned this daily craft into a beautiful act of worship. With every single stitch he made, he would say Subhanallah, glory be to God. By the time a garment was completely finished, it had been purified with thousands of praises to the Creator. Because of him, humanity wore stitched clothing for the very first time. But his brilliant, analytical mind did not stop there. Prophet Idris was a master of many profound sciences. He was the first man in history to ever write with a pen. Before him, knowledge was only passed down through spoken words. He captured divine wisdom on scrolls, preserving it safely for future generations. He taught his followers the deep science of astronomy, mapping the exact movements of the stars, the sun, and the moon. He introduced the foundational concepts of mathematics and complex calculations. He was the very first leader to establish correct weights and measures, ensuring that strict justice and fairness were used in daily trade. He did not want his pure followers living scattered in the wild, so he taught them the advanced principles of city planning. Historical traditions say he helped construct 188 cities, turning wandering, disorganized tribes into civilized, secure societies. Prophet Idris was physically strong and deeply majestic in his presence. He spoke softly, but his words carried immense weight and undeniable authority. He stood in the streets of Babylon and invited the people to leave their idols. He urged them to stop their terrible sins and to return to the worship of the one true God. A small group of pure-hearted people listened to his call and believed, but the vast majority were violently stubborn, especially the corrupt descendants of Kabil in the plains below. They laughed at his warnings and proudly refused to abandon their wicked ways. The time for peaceful preaching was slowly coming to an end. The line between good and evil had been clearly drawn, and a great historic confrontation was now inevitable. The corruption of Kabil's descendants grew worse every single day. They began to openly attack the peaceful followers of Prophet Idris. They spread fear, violence, and oppression across the land. Prophet Idris saw that peaceful words and gentle warnings were no longer enough. The innocent believers desperately needed protection, and the truth had to be defended at all costs. Until this precise moment in human history, no prophet had ever fought a physical war. But God gave Idris a new, heavy command. He was ordered to raise an army and fight against the cruel oppressors. This made Prophet Idris the very first man in history to wage jihad, a righteous, justified struggle for the sake of God and humanity. He gathered his faithful followers from the new cities he had built. He organized them into ranks, and he taught them how to defend themselves. Because he was a master of crafts and invention, he designed the first weapons for battle. He forged armor to protect his people and swords to fight the enemy. When the day of the great battle finally arrived, Prophet Idris led his men with incredible bravery. Historical records describe him as fiercely courageous on the battlefield. He was so fearless in the face of the enemy that he earned a legendary title. He was known as the Lion of Lions. By the command of Allah, the corrupt army of the plains was completely defeated. Prophet Idris captured many prisoners, but he treated them with immense mercy. He commanded them to abandon their false idols and return to the one true God. Some accepted his message, while others were exiled away from the pure lands. His great victory established a long era of peace, justice, and order. The pure religion of Adam and Sheeth was finally safe from destruction, and the followers of truth flourished under his highly civilized rule. But despite his massive worldly success as a king, a scholar, and a victorious warrior, his heart remained entirely detached from this earth. He spent his nights in deep, tearful prayer, seeking the closeness of his Creator. His dedication to worship was so intense that it caught the attention of the highest angels. And soon, an extraordinary, terrifying visitor would come down from the heavens just to meet him. The devotion of Prophet Idris was unlike any other man on earth. It is said that his daily good deeds were equal to the deeds of all mankind combined. This incredible piety echoed straight through the seven heavens, and it caught the deep attention of a very specific, terrifying angel, the angel of death, whose name is Israel. The angel of death felt a profound admiration for this earthly prophet. He approached God and asked for a very special permission. He wanted to go down to earth, not to take a soul, but simply to visit Idris as a friend. Allah granted his request. The angel of death descended to the earth. He took the physical form of a handsome human being. He approached Prophet Idris and offered him greetings of peace. Idris, being a kind and generous host, welcomed the stranger into his home. For 3 consecutive days and nights, they stayed together. Prophet Idris fasted during the long days and prayed continuously throughout the nights. When it was time to break the fast, he offered his simple food to the guest. But the stranger politely refused to eat or drink anything. This strange behavior deeply puzzled the prophet. He knew that no normal human being could survive without food or sleep like this. Finally, Prophet Idris turned to his mysterious guest and asked, "Who exactly are you?" The stranger looked at him and revealed his true, awe-inspiring identity. "I am the angel of death. I asked my Lord for permission to meet you and to be your companion." Hearing this, Prophet Idris was not paralyzed by fear. Instead, his brilliant, seeking mind saw an extraordinary opportunity. He looked directly at the angel of death and made a shocking request. "O angel of death, if we are truly friends, then I ask you to do me a favor. Take my soul right now, so that I may truly taste the agony of death. I want my heart to be absolutely certain of the pain that every soul must face, so that I can fear God even more." The angel of death was stunned by this unbelievable request. He replied, "I cannot take any soul without the direct command of Allah." But in that very moment, the divine revelation came down. Allah gave the permission. The angel of death stepped forward, and for a brief, terrifying moment, the soul of Prophet Idris was pulled from his body. He collapsed, experiencing the overwhelming, crushing reality of death. The crushing weight of death had completely overtaken him. His soul was pulled away from his earthly body. But because God had granted this as a special request, the angel of death was immediately commanded to return the soul. Prophet Idris took a deep, sudden breath. He opened his eyes, returning to the world of the living. The angel of death looked at him and asked, "My brother, how did you find the taste of death?" Prophet Idris replied with a trembling voice, "It was more severe and more terrifying than I had ever imagined. The sting of death is heavier than the highest mountains." But his incredible journey was not over yet. He turned to his friend, the angel of death, and made a second request. He asked to be taken to the edges of the Hellfire. He wanted to see the blazing punishment with his own eyes, so that the fear of God would burn even stronger in his heart. Once again, the angel sought divine permission. And once again, Allah commanded him to fulfill the request. The angel carried Prophet Idris to the very brink of the underworld. There he witnessed the unimaginable horrors. He saw the heavy chains, the boiling water, and the roaring, furious flames. He saw the brutal reality of what awaits the corrupt and the arrogant. The sight was so overwhelming that it shook him to his very core. When he was brought back to safety, his heart was heavy. But there was still one final stage in his extraordinary journey. He made his third and most daring request to the angel of death. "I have tasted the agony of death. I have witnessed the terrifying depths of hell. Now I ask you to show me paradise. Take me to the gates of heaven so I may see the ultimate reward." The angel of death nodded in agreement. and together they began an incredible ascent upward, leaving the physical earth far behind them, rising up toward the highest, unseen realms of the heavens.